Okay, it is Tuesday. This is Trekland HQ version 2, and we are live. Yes, Virginia, Star Trek's always had women fans and leaders and saviors. Today on Trekland Tuesdays Live, number 4, number 422. Yeah. With me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemechek, coming at you here from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47. And yes, the heart of your portal to the big multi-day edition of the Geek Nation Tours LA to Vegas location film sites tour with your fellow Trek fans, living it out loud, the real experience, the real deal multi-day. Not done this in 10 years, all for the 60th anniversary. Please give us a look at geeknationtours.com or come over and check it out with a link through my site at larrynemechek.com, where, yes, if a multi-day tour is not your thing, you can still get a one-day Trekland Treks here in Southern California. We customize it for you in advance. I handle everything for you. It's an incredible, awesome, wonderful day. Get in touch with me. Find out that we have wonderful winters here in Southern California. So, time of year is almost no option. It's going to be a big year celebrating the 60th. And we're looking forward to the future. And I am looking forward to seeing who all has made it to today's show. Yes. We have a topic, but I want to say first off, hello to everybody who's popping in here. If you are new to Trekland Tuesdays Live, please let us know who you are, where you're coming from, how's the weather near you, how's the Trek near you. Gosh, I don't think we'll have anybody in from Jamaica, but thinking of folks down there for sure these days with the hurricane pulling in, a Cat 5 historic. But whatever's going on in your niche of the woods, your corner of the woods, thank you for stopping by to trek with us. Maybe take your mind off the world at large, wherever you are, and thinking of that Gene Roddenberry world that we'd all love to have at some time. But I love having you here in my world of Trekland. And look, if you're coming in on YouTube, that's the best. Please like and subscribe the channel while you're here. Trekland, there's so much here on the channel, and it goes back years. Oh, there's so many interviews that I need to update. I need to put more of them out from before Portal 47, before live videoing. We just had video interviews. They were called, what do we call it? Switching to STV, switching to visual. Yeah, that far back on the channel. Once you're here and you are subscribed. But hey, please do that, because when you're on YouTube watching Trekland Tuesdays Live, you are getting all the chat comments as you would on Twitch. But you can also throw a little coinage at me, because we are monetized here with Super Chat. I really appreciate that. Every little bit helps. And if you're on Facebook, cool, glad to have you, but you're only going to see the Facebook comments, okay? And we have such an incredible Trekland Tuesdays Live community. They're all over the world. You want to see everybody, because I do it at this time of day so we can have I don't do it at night for the Americas. I should, but I've always wanted to have a good global feeling. And I think that's what we have, a good global feeling with Trek. And it's always good to get their point of view and comments too. So look, how we do things here. If you are new, hey, it's fine to lurk, but if you want to pop up, that'd be great. But I'm going to do a topic here as usual, unless it's a guest day. But I have a topic today, as you heard. And then I will take a mini break. We'll cut it there for all the later YouTube folks. But we will keep going with a live chat, as we've done since day one, episode 1. Well, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe we didn't have the chat till episode 2, because the first one was just a commentary, maybe. But we've been doing this since 2017. Yeah, 422 episodes in now. And I'm just so glad everybody is here. And look, we'll get to more of the business stuff. I do want to let everybody know about the Geek Nation tour coming back up for the 60th anniversary. If you're wanting to make a big plan, make a big deal, it'll be in August, the week before Vegas convention. Although you don't have to go to the convention, you can just ride with us for those 5 days. Hey, that's a big deal. Right now, I want to give a shout out to Doug Drexler. I haven't checked up. I know they crossed over 50% early last evening on his bio documentary. Doug is not just a hoot. He has lived an awful lot of history in an awful lot of venues, in Trek and out of Trek, around some of your favorite actors, some of your favorite pop culture genre folks. He has history that goes back to New York City with the early Trek days. He's just an incredible guy, and he's put in some licks of life, I would say, too, along the way. And I'm so excited for his memoir to be coming next spring, and just as a serendipity project, this documentary. So give it a look if you can. It's actually at Kickstarter. Look up Doug Drexler Kickstarter, you'll get there, or check out his page. I do want to say that I also want to do an RIP this week. Someone that was very close to me, I did a lot of work with about 15 years ago, in the early years of the fallow times, after Star Trek had gone away and there was a movie coming, but no one knew what it was about because they were being old and weird and mysterious and far away. And we were all just trying to scramble our Star Trek together. And a guy who had begun life as an attorney and then became a minister with a Presbyterian church, and then later on drifted out of that, not drifted, very purposely went into life coaching, especially for men trying to detoxify themselves and the world around them. And even acting again. I called him a good friend. The early days of my blog and videos, like 2008, 2009, in the depths of not a damn thing happening with Star Trek, aside from this movie we heard about, but nothing for active people to get involved with. And at the very dawn of the social media age, right? 07, 08, 09, Curtis Webster here in the Valley was a minister at Encino, was it? Reseda? And he had a dictate from me. He was a young to them. It was an older aged mainstream Protestant church, and they wanted to expand their audience. And he was a huge Trek fan. It was also the church that Mike Westmore attended. And the think tank of what transpired was that he came up with a series called The Spirit of Star Trek. Once a month on a Sunday evening, they had really nice projection facilities in their sanctuary, in their main auditorium. And once a month, he had an actual professional Star Trek guest come in. They screened an episode that was available on, DVD. Screened an episode with a person who was involved in it. And I know he started with Mike Westmore, but over time he had Armin, Max, who else? Nana, Bob Picardo, Ethan Phillips. At one point had my friend James Kerwin and Chase Masterson with their movie Yesterday Was a Lie. And then a second one, I think with just Chase. And myself as a guest once. But I was really big in the early days. We did advanced video. We did a little video teaser for them. I really went because I was thrilled something was happening in the world, in a world of dead Star Trek, dead live event Star Trek. It was a godsend. And the discussions after the screening were always really insightful. And that happened over 2, 3, 4 years. Finally kind of ran out of steam. Apparently the church decided that wasn't exactly how they wanted to expand their base, and Curtis went to another church, did that a little bit more, but then decided that maybe this was not going to be as fulfilling and life-affirming for himself, and went into personal coaching and did that for several years and built a practice and built some events, and then did some acting along the way. And if you look up Curtis Webster's IMDb, you'll see he had a lot of the judge, general, police chief. He had that look. And I was just thinking in the last month or two that I needed to call him. I hadn't talked to him in years and years and years. And he wrote a book about his interesting relationship with one of his adopted kids. His wife, Kay, died 2 or 3 years ago when I think that's the last time I even just texted with him. And apparently he passed very suddenly and unexpectedly. I've not heard the details. I hope there's a memorial service or remembrance service coming up. I feel really bad that I did not circle back around and catch up with him in these last 10, 15 years. It's one of those times that makes you stop and think. Who are you in touch with that you really ought to be in touch with? Who are the folks you haven't just spoken to in a long time that you probably that were once close to or worked with a lot that you enjoyed, and maybe it's time to check in on them. It's one of those times it's a little bit of a wake-up call to do that. But so here's to you, Curtis, and I hope there'll be some more chances to think about them. A lot of people that were entertained, a lot of people that he helped along the way, and I want to be in that circle when there's some memorying going down. But I say this not to derail, not to get off track from this topic today. Because yes, last week we talked about these are kind of quiet times for Trek. Con had its penultimate, that's the fancy word for next to the last, chapter out. We'll wrap up next week. Then we have a wait until now mid-January for Starfleet Academy. Finally, we get to traipse through the holidays, all of that. But it's still relatively a quiet time. And yet in the quiet, last week, just about the time you think everything is about the future, it's all about the future, here comes somebody to send you a red alert, send you a code 1 that apparently there was history that you all thought everybody knew, and apparently some people didn't get the memo. Now, silly me for saying this when apparently we live in a world where a third of our country apparently never studied history either. But that's where we are. This is just Star Trek, kids. No, I'm talking about, apparently, do I even mention where it came from? Enough people have mentioned that. So Giant Freaking Robot, one of their writers, basically somewhere included a screed about how Star Trek is so woke today because there's all these wannabe fake faux geek girls that are acting like they're in fandom and they're not, and any guy knows who's really been around. He said, look at any online comment thread and you won't see any women, any females. So I saw that somebody commented on that and kind of made fun of it. Not in a mean way, just an eye-rolling way, like 5 days ago, 5-6 days ago, just as it flew through the air. And I went, oh boy, what a wackadoodle one-off. Must have been a clickbaiter just trying to get people who aren't used to the field, the fandom, Star Trek, right? Like who would, because kids, it rang a bell for me. It rang a deja vu bell. We went through this 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I was astounded, flabbergasted, flummoxed, eye-rolling, ridiculing in the early aughts because this movement arose, which totally threw me because of, facts and easily provable facts, photo evidence. But still, there were a lot of new people in fandom, which I thought at the time fandom was going to, Star Trek's fandom was sliding off anyway because the numbers were split and declining on Enterprise, the viewership. And there was kind of a malaise settling in, especially after Nemesis did not do well. And especially after Enterprise started to stagnate with its ratings. So there was a little bit of malaise, and some of the vultures were circling we didn't have toxic tubers yet, but the toxicists, and just people from neighboring fandoms that thought they knew something. But somewhere along the way, this started to grow. There was the geek girl movement happened, and then there was this pushback that they were the fake geek girls, because how could they? They just want to, two things, cosplay as a term, much less a thing, general fandom, and then the cosplay that it kind of, from anime world, was starting to come mainstream. And it was coming mainstream and going into sci-fi conventions and actually starting to bolster the Comic-Con convention, the old school Comic-Con, the old ones, the original ones, like Mile High in Denver, but especially San Diego Comic-Con. And before the huge blow up 6, 7, 8 years later, right, with Twilight and the MCU coming along, but right on the cusp of that, people who went to Comic-Cons were seeing this infusion of women with the anime costumes primarily at the beginning and accusing them all of just being models and faux, fake geek girls. That was the term. Fangirls. Okay, where did you come from? You can't be. You're just wearing costumes. Which was ridiculous. It's a new phenomenon that's just happened here. And it's like, no, it's just a new phenomenon because you woke up to it. You may be resenting it. You don't know how to process this because in your little world. But if I can't speak for all of sci-fi-ness, but I know what happened in Star Trek. And you're thinking, well, Dorothy Fontana was there. Well, yes, but I'm talking about in the fandom. Does somebody not know about the history of Spock and Vulcans and the early fan fiction and fanzine movement was 80% women, especially the movers and shakers that set up the clubs and the awards and the cons to give out the awards? Does anybody know? Ta-da, I brought props today. Does anybody not know what the con committee for the original New York Save Star Trek conventions look like? I mean, I'm like, what? Well, there's George. I see one guy here surrounded by all women. This is the con committee for the 70. This is the 74. This is the third one. Look, I'm going to go off on this tear a little bit, gang, because I'm just so flabbergasted. Here's a slightly less quality photo, same moment, a little bit differently, but you get an even bigger. I think there's a couple of guys back here in the back, but this is Elise Pines down here. That might be Joan. Anyway, I'm just, it's there. We have photo evidence. I know it was the 70s. I know that's been 50 years now, but if you're going to call yourself enough of a Trek fan to prognosticate and pontificate on it and punditize, then you got to know what you're talking about. No, look, I'm used to those debates, for years about, Star Trek is too woke. Where have you been all your life? Did you watch the show? You're used to that kind of popping up and going, what? And I remember hearing that in the 80s, the Reagan 80s. Star Trek did go a little more conservative with all the militaristic bling on the uniforms when Harv was running. Nothing against Harv, but things were very Reagan-esque with the original series movies. Not the motion picture. That was pure Gene. The wacky doodle Gene stuff. But I'm talking about, a little Admiral on the Bridge. That was never part of the 60s show. And then Gene had a chance to maybe course correct a little bit. Although I know Admiral on the Bridge got said starting third season. I can still see Nakamura being said for him. But I'm used to that debate. And that's one that keeps popping up it's ongoing. It's silly. But you can constantly, and whenever Star Trek gets into a new radar, falls on somebody's scope, like the beginning of Discovery did big time, and people get their feathers ruffled because they think they think it's all space battles and pew-pew. Really? No. That's a debate I'm used to having. I'm also used to this whole, the faux geek girls are just popping up to cosplay and pop in from anime world into everything else. I'm used to that 25 years ago. I'm not used to it now. But the Thursday, I'll say, when I saw this, I made a couple of comments. I moved on. Like, how ridiculous. Do you not know where zines came from? Fan fiction for Star Trek? Do you not know who split off fandom off of generic sci-fi litcons as far as big organizations? Do you not know who was running, aside from Al Schuster, who did the huckster's room, as they used to call it, in the East anyway. It was always the dealers to us, and then split off later on, and when all the con wars started to set in. Aside from him, most of the vast leadership was like you saw in that photo from the third one. But even beyond that, you think about the conventions, the lightning rod, where you really get into the moments. And yes, I'm going back to the early days, because we talk about this on the Trek Files at times. It pops up, but there's a paper and stamps day event before the internet. The internet with ink and paper and stamps and SACES, self-addressed stamped envelopes, were the currency of fandom, thanks to a little thing that Star Trek fandom demanded. Nothing had ever been seen like this before in another paradigm, which was people wanted information. They wanted information. They wanted connections. They wanted addresses. In a world where you didn't email even, you just could call or write. Call or write. Yes, I'm talking about the Well Committee. Here's a standard Well Committee flyer. This is from '84. They were always updated. Look at all those services there. See? The directory of Star Trek organizations, very big without an internet. How could you find out what was going on around the country? And dealers and clubs and conventions, okay? Pamphlet called How to Start a Club. Pamphlet called Protocols. Just the way that writers, artists, readers, editors should all interact with each other. The fans, little golden guide to throwing your own con. History of the Star Trek Well Committee. Yeah, you had it. So you want publicity. And the Star Trek slide cassette show available for loan. Somebody came up with one. Services, the area list department. Again, for a list of fans in your area. Yep. Books in and out of print. Okay. College and library programming. Convention listing coordinator. List your convention, right? Editors and contributors exchange. The foreign department. Military fan liaison. Library computer general just answers your trivia questions. That's what I wound up being the last 10 years. Library computer science and technology, the really hardcore science and tech stuff that you might have had a question. News clipping service. News clips from all over the country before you could share them online. Pen pal department, pretty simple. Space and future resources. The Star Trek educational programming's a department for teachers. Yep. Zine acquisition consultant for suggestions and information on where to obtain imprint fanzines and what types are available. Zine publishing information, like how-tos about how to publish your own zine. And the chairman. Do you want me to list? Do you want me to tell you who was running all these departments? Well, here, why don't I get the late 80s Star Trek Well Committee roster? Who's the chairman? Well, for the last 30 years it existed, 20 to 30 years, it was Grandma Star Trek, Shirley Mayuski. Yep, from Hatfield, Massachusetts. Her aide was Carol Rasmussen. The vice chairman was Allison Dyer. The old original Star Trek advisors from the founding days, Helen Young and Jacqueline Lichtenberg, who's been a guest on the Trek Files. The mailroom. People wrote their letters in, and who sent them out to the VWs, the volunteer workers, to be like me, to be answered? Why, that was Mary Lou Dodge. Yes, of course it was. The finance department, the volunteer. Okay, Richard Watson. This list of names, many of which are repeated. Richard is one of 4 men on this list. I'm just saying. Under the finance committee, book sales, Kay Johnson. Donated items for auctions, for fundraising, for operations here. Who's that? Oh, Frank Hitchcock with an assistant, Vicky Caffey. Supplies department chief, Joan Marie Verba. Con arrangements, right? Interacting with cons for things. East Coast, Shirley. Midwest, Joyce Thompson in Denver. Oh, Kansas City. And West Coast, Lisa Wall. Legal advisor, the attorney if they needed legal help, Ellen Kozak. Directory publisher, the publisher of this sucker. They made it on yellow paper at first because they could call it the Yellow Pages of Fandom. This was your directory of organizations, dealers, clubs, cons, addresses, phone numbers. It was updated maybe at least once a year, maybe more than that. even games. There's professional Star Trek magazines and books listed in here until they got too long to go. And of course, there's the good old Well Committee patches that were sold for fundraising. This came out about every once a year. They would put it on colored paper, and of course, it would mail to you because we were in paper and stamps days. Look. Okay, that was hugely. Am I beating the drum here too much? Let's look at some of the other departments here on this list. This is the 1984. Been around for 7-8 years. Had another 20 years to go. Directory editor, Judy Siegel. Okay, her staff assistants were Lloyd Penny and Robert Friel. Okay, editor and publisher, Shirley Mayuski. The business manager for the newsletter was Mary Manchester, sorry. Just going down here, the area list, Barbara Mayuski. Club consultant, Joyce Thompson. College and library programming, Sandy Sapatka. Con consultants, Lori Chapek Carlton. Yes. A lot of the names are starting to repeat here. Foreign departments, Australia, Jerry France. Diane Merchant. Germany, Sandy Sapatka. Military base American. Great Britain, Carla Salveda in Scotland. The Japan entry was empty at the moment. Military fan liaison, Sandy Sapatka. Yeah, historian, Joan Verba. Library computer general, that's the trivia answering person, Don Harden. Good guy, good fan. The science and tech library computer answerer person, Thomas Monson. I've now read you all the men's names on this list, on this long legal size list. And the rest of them, people running other departments that are small, it's repeating of all the names you've heard already. Allison, Joan Marie, Joyce. This is 70s and 80s. This is 84. We were 3 original series movies in. Star Trek fandom did its job and saved a show to live and fight another day and entertain and inspire others. We're 2 years away from announcing the next generation here. These are the movers and shakers of fandom. Now look, there are clubs. There's chapters of Starfleet. There are chapters of STAR, the original Star Trek Association for Revival. There's lots of, I'm not saying men were absent, but it's like, look at this inverse. For anybody, I don't care what year it is. Number one, it's just wrong. Number two, do your research. None of this stuff is hidden anywhere in the back of a black cave. This didn't go down a rat hole, this information. The photos are there. Have you seen the costume contests from the 70s? Oh my God, everybody is getting off on Bill Tice. It's barely hanging their costumes. There's tons of women. There's always been tons of women, and even old school lit fandom. But these are the little busybodies that would not take no for an answer. And when they couldn't assimilate the mainstream litcons, when they were kind of gatekeeped out at the beginning and said, well, just if you're not going to go read your classics and assimilate and learn everything, just maybe you should go off and do your own Star Trek convention by yourself, which is what they did. And you saw the results. And that led to the Comic-Con fandom we have today. Media cons, because eventually you had Star Wars and you had everything else on TV, and you didn't need just Star Trek, although that was the driving force. You weren't going to get the regular cast of Star Wars at a con. And there were only 2 hours of it, or 4 hours, or 6 hours when you have all of this of Trek. Yeah, the Comic-Con movement goes back to Star Trek fandom, Star Trek's women con-throwing fandoms splitting off and being brave enough to have just a Star, which was unprecedented at the time. But then it was also unprecedented to have anything on a screen that people felt like following that wasn't an anthology. It wasn't a one-off movie. It wasn't an anthology, Twilight Zone. It was actually regular characters in a regular story ongoing. It never happened before. Sorry, Lost in Space. We went through this idiocracy 25 years ago. Why anyone? You can say it was clickbait, Larry. It was just clickbait. But I wonder, because it wouldn't be the first time that the thing that we all thought, we all knew, because we lived it, we saw it with our own eyes, we heard it with our own ears, we read about it, we had parents, we had grandparents, passed it down direct line of story. Am I talking about economics going in and out of the Depression, or am I talking about Star Trek history? Oh, maybe both. You talking about who we fought in World War II and why, and what the Cold War was supposedly about, even us with all of our flaws? Whatever. You want it the meta scale, the macro, the macro or the micro? Apparently, that's a human nature thing. It just, maybe it's not quite just a matter of life and death when it's only Star Trek, but it sure as hell is annoying. I thought, I mean, I'm used to this whole, oh, Star Trek's too woke. So, that thing has gone on for ages. It pops up. I guess it's a sign that you're alive. If you're dead, no one cares. So yay, Star Trek for being around 60 years. For this to have been debated the last 40 of it. But really? Really? There's no women in the comment sections online? Buddy, this isn't about Trek. It's not about the women fans. It's not about most fans. It's about you. It's like, you need to get out of the house a little more. You need to get out of your little bubble online. How do the artists and creatives and organizers, guys, I didn't even mention Bijo running the frickin' with John, who gets overlooked, who we lost about 3 years ago, the Trimbles. I hadn't even mentioned Bijo and the frickin' letter drive that got a third season that made 3 years of reruns possible for syndicated stations to pick up the thing. I mean, this is all ancient history. We love to talk about it. It's recorded. It comes up every third or fourth episode of the Trek Files. It's part of our storied, glorious heritage that made Star Trek, and not just its fandom, but the created Star Trek what it is, that interaction. Gene did not go away silently into the night when he was demoted because he knew he could leverage that fandom out there. And Harv Bennett and Paramount knew it too. You better believe it. And everybody since, if they're smart, and Harv Bennett was smart, Rick Berman was mostly smart, although he may have settled into the ruts a little bit there toward the end. But anybody who has been a showrunner or in charge and it's been a success is well aware of the fandom and well aware of the makeup and doesn't fall for just the pew-pew boys. Not after the glorious heritage that this fandom has had. And yeah, I'll say it. I'm thankful. I know what I knew I was a minority in Interstat. A lot of those names I read off who were bigwigs in fan fiction, in the fan fiction world and zine world, and the organizers of the Well Committee, which again came out of a desire to spread information about zines and publishing your own zine, because that was how fans found each other. That was the calling card before we had instant communication, whatever you were doing, whether it was email or you were tweeting. That's how and then you would meet at cons and you would link up that way. And you would hear your gossip at cons and all of that. Because it still was 3 or 4 or 5 days for a letter. And oh my God, long distance calling was so expensive. Did you want to get up before 8 a.m. to get the overnight long distance rate so you could call LA from New York? Oklahoma sure wasn't calling Jeff Mandel in New York City. That was way too in college. Are you kidding me? I know it was another time, another place, but that doesn't negate the history that we have and still have. Have you looked at the podcast hosts? We had Women at War. We have Sci-Fi Sisters and an RIP for Sabrina. I think I mentioned losing her a couple of weeks ago. What rock did this guy live under? Now, to The other 99.9% of fandom's credit, I decided to talk about this today because past that little Thursday flyby, I saw it popping up more and more, and people commenting on it. And again, maybe I was in my bubble. Maybe I live in a big bubble. I'd like to think it's 90% of fandom. That's a big bubble to be in. But everybody, every time I would see it popping up, it was because somebody had reposted it to go, WTF? what, like, guy, what? Yeah, what black hole have you pioneered? Everybody was somewhere on the spectrum of ridiculing to just factually drowning the little, and it was always, if you notice, people very smartly started propagating his comments, his little 2 paragraphs, as a copy, not as a direct link. He wasn't getting all this. You weren't getting the benefit of all the linkage. It was just a screen cap. And the name was not there, but the source was. And I kept seeing it pop up over and over and over again as we got to Friday and Saturday and Sunday and Monday. And with everything else going on in the world, this was like a constant online for several days. Did you see it in any of your places? Right? Primarily Twitter, Blue Sky, maybe Facebook, probably Facebook. And finally, I saw my buddy Dayton Ward repost it and let another slew of people, following his page, Facebook, I think, comment and ridicule and eye roll but really head scratch and go, as I did, really? It's 2025. Really? And if nothing else, you wonder, was it really just paid trolling, paid clickbait? Or was that a sincere thought? Now look, I'm all for anybody saying what they want to say. First Amendment, I'm not going to gatekeep anybody. It's not even debate. How is it even a debate? I'm sorry. Here's the 82,000 facts I have. Boom. And your fact is you don't see many females in comment sections. Well, where do you hang out? That's just the most simplistically basic of illogical structure, supposition. Therefore, what a false society. Okay, we can go down the line spot. But by the time I had seen it popping up randomly, I had commented twice in different streams on Thursday. I was done. But I kept seeing it popping up and other people commenting. And of course, the original poster wanted to pull it up and put it on their page for people to see. Everybody felt like ridiculing this. But we live in a time when just because everybody, I don't mean bubble people, I mean apparently, factually, numerically, with data, if we can get it, everybody or a vast majority thinks it's crazy, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Doesn't it mean that there's a force and a power behind it? So thank you, Dayton, because when I saw you reposting it and I saw everybody reacting to it, well, not only fresh, like, oh no, this is the 19th time I've seen this, but people reacting for the first time and uniformly, nobody steps up and says, oh gosh, I've wondered this myself. Where are you all getting this information that you're countering him with? No. I finally said, okay, heaven forbid I ever thought this would be something on the level of a Trekland Tuesdays live topic, but maybe it'll do some good somewhere, somehow, even if it's just another YouTube headline that flickers by when somebody that needs to see it, it might cross their little visual path, or on Facebook even. And yes, I'll admit it's a slow time. I didn't have anything else to talk about, but maybe this is one of those cases where the ripple effect is the most important thing, where the little bitty pebble that you throw that makes little bitty ripples. You don't know how far they go. That little bitty butterfly, its effect, you never know. And I do not understand what the downside of pointing out the accurate history of, you could debate the quantity of impact. You could debate the Gene Roddenberry was a guy, Gene Kuhn was a guy, John Trimble was a guy. I mean, you can, Al Schuster was on the, you can quantify impact, but to say they weren't there, and it wasn't just, cosplay modeling. In the years before we had the word, you were going in costume. You were in the masquerade contest. Yeah, that anime crossover bleed over early aughts years was the first time I heard I thought cosplay was when you not only wore a costume, but you role played in it like all day. Like you went to a con, you went as this character, and you not only did a really awesome job as that character, but then you role played the character all day. Because why else would it be cosplay? I thought it was a bump up of the two. What's that? The P word. Within a few months, I found out that I was off base because I noticed all these people cosplaying and they were just being themselves. I'm like, you're not role playing very well if that's what you're supposed to be doing. You're dropping it constantly. But at that time and space, there was a lot of this pushback by people that apparently just woke up the day before and had no clue. And 25 years ago, we were only 30 years out from all of this. So that's a generation. Were kids not kids paying attention? Did they not have parents? Okay, maybe they didn't have fan parents. Maybe they just crawled out from under their gaming rock and had no clue. Well, you know what? We have this thing now called the internet, where pictures and articles and stories and history and commentary is very easy to get. But why would someone be spewing words visually on a quasi-recognized platform? And I know a lot of you are saying, Larry, why are you paying attention to one of those news sites, one of those tubers? And I know 99% of the time we don't. But this one appeared to catch fire, catch traction, and lots of people, just like me, would say, from Dayton on down, how ridiculous. We all know this isn't true. Here are the basic facts staring us in the face. Then and now. What? Really? From Bijo on down. But maybe sometimes it's good, to get the receipts. Maybe sometimes it's good to get things out. Once again, thank you, Well Committee, for being the internet of stamps and paper, because Star Trek demanded it. And there was no digital linkage internet thing around to help us in the 70s and the 80s and even into the 90s. The Well Committee finally dried up in the early aughts, maybe because, the internet had totally made it a relic. But it was glorious in the day, and it was a complete example of a grassroots response to a passion that a growing number of people had that blew up over 20, 30 years. Somebody needs to do a documentary or a history of the Well Committee. And I mean more than Joan Marie Verba's pamphlet from back in the day. We've lost a lot of the folks of that era. We do what we can to remember them in the Trek files or other places. Boy, I just, there are so many great women podcasters and tubers now, live streamers. You reveal a lot about yourself when you plunge out with something that clearly was not researched. It just shows that, and fine, if you live in a little world, don't pretend to write if you're not going to at least try to recognize that you live in a little world and you want to go research something bigger than the history of my little world. Guys, I'm sorry if I got wound up there. Well, I'm not sorry. I'm sorry if that all seemed like ancient history. Why are you going over it? There's something I learned a long time ago. I thought so much of what I have been through was old, dusty history, only to turn around and read online where people have no clue. When it's factual facts about how Star Trek was made or something about the people or credit where credit's due or not due, that's one thing. I get that. But some of these foundational basics, it's like if somebody had written Star Trek was never on a national network. How did it get so popular? It's like, what? Something is based. Star Trek never had a major studio behind it. How did it get to be this underground cult thing? I'm like, that's the equivalent here. Anyway, so here we are on the Tuesdays Live. I got that out of my system. I could not believe this was happening. I knew it came from one of those clickbaity, stupid sources. I'm not talking so much about the source. I'm talking about how it seemed to trigger something with everyone who's felt the need to comment. Now, whether they just blended into the background because that's what half our world is these days, or stupid people writing things online that are easily proven to be false, whether it was yesterday, much less 30 years ago or 50 years ago, or whether it was people just felt the need to pontificate and spew because there might be some innocents out there that really don't know. And that's what I've caught myself assuming everyone knew something when they didn't. That's why I try to do what I do. It's whether it's a picayune, cool little making of bit from an episode or a person, and we do that in Portal, or it's something from history that we do in Trek Files, or something of a common nature here that we're doing here today. So, yeah, maybe we've helped with a little butterfly effect somewhere. Maybe we've helped with a little ripple effect of awareness and knowledge for a young mind that sincerely didn't know, because that older idiot should really know better. Is either really ignorant or it's so insanely clickbait it just makes me want to regulate the internet, which is a horrible thing to say. I'm just glad that the mass reaction that I saw over several days, uniformly, people know what the reality is. If they're online, and you know what? What's funny is many of the reactions were coming from women. Imagine women commenting in comment threads in a social media sphere about Trek. Who'd have thunk? Jesus Christ, get me out of here. Sweet Kalis and the Prophets too. Good Lord. Okay. I think it's time, gang, that we take our YouTube break. Because I want to say, if you're watching on YouTube later, thank you. We're going to get into the comments here in a minute live. But hey, you could still keep this going. I would love to see men and women commenting on this later on YouTube about this whole wacky-do thing. I mean, did this, how we have the things that pop up and they kind of cross over. They cross everyone's field of vision on social media, right? They just kind of come up and then they pass after a few days. It's just sometimes what it is that passes by that it seems like everyone sees and a lot of people comment on, for good, bad, or ugly. It's just earth-shakingly mind-numbing. And yeah, SMH for sure. Have you had a moment like that with this one? I'd love to hear it in the topic, in the comments later on. And hey, if you are watching us later, it would be great if you could maybe join us live on a Tuesday afternoon sometime. You're off work. Maybe it's a holiday week. You're always invited. I'm here most every Tuesday of the year. Some weeks we have to jumble that a little bit to another day, but just pretty much all the time here on Tuesday afternoons. All right. And for everybody here, I'm going to, we'll take that micro break as we always do. I will end it for the YouTubers and then we'll be back, right? But of course, I can't leave anywhere without saying a big thank you to our October Patreon folk. Now, this is the list. I will update this. We've got some new folks for November. We'll have them on here. But let me just finish up by saying thank you so much, TTLers, Chuck A., James Kerwin, Diana Hopkins, Halbert Gunjanssen, Lawrence Todd, Chris Jiggins, Mitch Keith, Keith Rombach, Josh Patton, Pranakasha Productions, and Comedy Forecast. And then our live wires, yep, that's J.R. Poole, Gary Williams, Robert McLean, Byron Bailey, Donna S. Runyon, Brandon Coles, Dave Gregory, Jesse at Crusher Convo, Chris Garris, and Casey Shafsky. That's our Patreons, our TTLers, and you can be one too. It's very simple. I keep it simple and small. It's $5 for the shout out, $10 for the shout out, plus the access to older portal. And it's another week has gone by and I haven't refreshed that. So it's patreon.com/Trekland Live. Very simple. Hey, I think you can get yourself to Doug's Kickstarter and maybe have a couple of bucks left over from me. But, wait till next month if you have to. His is only going 30 days. I would love it if everybody could come. Thank you so much for the support here, though. It helps with all the streaming that we do. I got to get Cadet Alice back, and we need to do some more of Poor Season 2, because I have this feeling that Prodigy's going to not so much get renewed anytime soon, if ever, but just feels like there's a little bit of a circle of attention coming around to Prodigy. I don't know. Anyway, once again, a shout out. If this intrigues you for the 60th, if you're trying to celebrate in a big, unique, custom way, take the 5-day trip with us the week before Vegas, whether you go to the con or not. The sights, it's amazing. Nothing like being there in person, and the fans that you will make, the friends that you make along the way. Yeah, it's a real tour. We stay together in hotel. We have the buses and the vans, all of that. All of that. Or you know what? If it is a bit much for you, this is so weird. Did I drop it? Trekland Treks is a one-day tour that I offer any time of year whenever you have a day free in Los Angeles from work or pleasure on vacay. So get in touch with me at LarryNemechek.com about that. Yeah. But it's a Tuesday, and that means it's yet another Trek Files from Roddenberry, the Trek Files, I should say, wherever fine podcasts are caught. Roddenberry.podcast or podcast.roddenberry.com or thetrekfiles.com on Memory Alpha. This week, it's if you were at cons in the 80s and 90s and you saw Majel at her table, next to her would have been Raina, who started off being Rod's nanny when he was 6 months old and wound up being Raina Estepinian, wound up running Lincoln Enterprises, overseeing the warehousing and the mailing, going with Majel to cons as her table mate, and just a good friend. All of that. Hold on just a second. Have unawares. Raina is our guest this week, and it's a very personal look at traveling to cons and tabling and running Lincoln Enterprises with Majel. And I don't know if she's ever done an interview and sat down with anyone like that before, but you should make sure and give it a check. That's the Trek Files gang. And of course, if you want to, we're still on Facebook, but if you really want to be in the community, we have founded, using the Roddenberry Mission Log Discord, which you get to by Patreon. Their Patreon, it's $1 a month, different than mine. $1 a month gets you access to all of the message boards, support boards, community boards, and the live shows connected to all the Roddenberry podcasts and a few others. every other Tuesday, 4 p.m. at 4 p.m. on Mondays, every other Monday, we have Trekophiles Tonight. I would love for you to join us there. And that's going to do it. That's going to do it, gang. I'm Larry Nemechek on X and Blue Sky. You can catch us, Larry's Trekland, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. All of that is there. Portal47.net. If you just want to jump in full bore and go behind the scenes with the Portales and me, with our guests, with our Ask Dr. Trek Roundtable, every month of the year, there is no chance for post-con blues. Would love for you to jump in. This is the 10th anniversary year. We are tentatively setting the open house now for November 12th. More info is coming on that. It'll be quick and short and sweet, but plenty of time for everybody to get there. I promise you. That's going to do it. That's going to do it. 10 years of Portal 47. Wow. 10 years since we started the Geek Nation Tours, big LA to Vegas tour. And I really do appreciate everybody being here with us these weeks. Okay, that's going to do it. On watching us later, please, please, please stay healthy, do all the things. Stay awoke, check your sources, as I was saying earlier. And yeah, trek well, everybody. Now, I need everybody to sit tight. Think about what you want to say. There's something going on outside that I have to go deal with. I'll be back in 2 minutes or less. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Anyone still here? Yay. Okay, that was interesting. I'm going to back needle now and see what's going on. Good to see everybody here. Dave again, and Glenn, and Dan, and Red Shirt Bob, and Dave here, and Christian, and everybody. Dan, you tried to get in touch with me about the Trekland tourist thing, but there was no reply. How did you try to get in touch with me? Did you send an email to larry@larrynimachek.com? I don't know what other way you were trying, but I'd be happy to talk to you about it. Crisp autumn Tuesday in Michigan. That's what we would have used to have called football weather. Hey, Foz Rotten. I've seen you popping up here. Absolutely, Dave. Doug's project is trucking along. He's such a goof, but such a talented genius goof, and a visionary, but he's just off the wall, boppy, happy. He's just a passion pit that he lifts the room whenever he comes into it. He's so crazy. Hi, Christian. I'm just yes, new to all of the Trekland world. Hi again, good to see you. Yeah. I owe you a communication. I do. Hey, yes, Bob. Sounds like an interesting person. Lots there. Yeah. I hope I didn't shoehorn him in here. I didn't think I had enough to talk about a whole topic, but yeah, I would have. And he's actually collected a little IMDb the last few years, which, good on him. That's why it was just a sudden shock to the family, and then outward waves of people that knew. You all, hey, C3. I'm glad everybody's Chucka. Oh, right, Chuck A. What am I doing here? Good to see you. Thanks to all you guys who are guys and gals who are the Patreon folks too. So fangirl started Star Trek fandom. Cool. Are you there were guy fans. I mean, you see the protests at NBC in Burbank in '68. There's lots of guys there. They're all from Caltech. And, the tech world was skewed heavily toward guys. But just sitting at home, yeah. And lots of those kid letters we read on the Trek Files. There's a lot from girls, too, in the 60s and 70s. 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old girls. Hey, TARDIS Captain. Yeah, you saw it, too. See, I think everybody saw that. Thank you, Red Shirt Bob. In high school, when Star Trek debuted, and most fans of the show at school were teen girls. Well, thank you, Leonard. Thank you, All Things Vulcan. Hey, Don. Yeah, wow, you're elevating John Dickerson's exit from. Yes, I know. But yeah, June, I didn't do an RP for June Lockhart. What's funny is I think of her as much about being Timmy's mom on Lassie as being in Lost in Space. Begin the Con Wars have. Yep. Glad everybody's getting your howdy doos through here. You really hope that those who have those old zines and club newsletters are scanning the PDF to share the history online. I do too. I know there are some archives and university libraries. There's the Eaton collection that's been after me for 20 years to donate some of my stuff. And they're just over here now. They're right down the street from me at UC Riverside. But I've heard of them for 20 years since I've been out west and out of Phoenix and the LA cons. They're always on the hunt looking for things to add to their archives. Zine flyers. I collected zine flyers and convention flyers, even if I never went to the cons or bought the zines, just because I thought someday these are going to be informative. Yep. There you go, Christian. You sound like someone who knows of what you speak. It was, but it had to be. Star Trek fandom came along. I think if Star Trek fandom was like prophets, they weren't linear. Star Trek fandom would go, it's like you time traveled back to the 70s and 80s and went, oh my God, we're going to have to do this by hand. It's kind of like Spock with stone knives and bearskins, except we didn't know what the future would be. We just had to deal with it right then. And that's the best we could do. And that army of people, I didn't bring over the roster of the volunteer workers. I was a VW for many years. There were like 8 or 10 regions in the country. You were the area captains, the ACs, had a chunk of the country and overseas. And depending on, fans wrote, they gave out a central mailing address, right? No, that's the directory one. Where is it? It's on the flyer. Hold on. Where's the regular? Here it is. See there? Box 12, Saranac, Michigan. That's where everybody wrote to. And then the mailroom person you had to forward those letters to either be answered as questions, or if they wanted information about how to run a club or how to make a zine, or go down the line. I'm a teacher. I want educational resources. And they went out from there. And sometimes when I first wrote the Well Committee, I wrote like 8 pages of background questions because I didn't understand. I just wanted to know. And they took 6 months to make the rounds. And finally, the library computer person at the time wrote me back and sent me back a 6-page single space typed. And I was like, oh, I got caught up real fast on the way the world worked with TV and everything. I have a handwritten copy of my original letter, not the typed one, because I sent the typed one, but I have my original reply from, oh my God, that should be a Trek Files sometime. My original reply from the Well Committee, 6 pages long, 6 months later. But to your point, Christian, yes, absolutely. We didn't have the internet yet, so fandom, the passion of fandom, the demand for what we needed to have, because it was this show, damn it. The same passion demand that, okay, if you're going to cancel the show, we'll just make our own shows. And that was where zine writing came from, much less all the nonfiction people, backgrounding and canonizing. Oh, hi, Iris. So awesome you are alive regularly. Greetings. Well, hi, Iris. Nice to meet you and have you pop up today. And I wonder how you found out about us. But yay. Anyone remember the science fiction zine Rocket's Blast? Glenn, if you have a story behind it, I'd love to hear it, because there were thousands of zines over the years, whether it was fiction or essays or a mixture. Was it fiction? Oh, science fiction zine, but science fiction could be essays, it could be technological musings, all of that. Christoph, thank you for including that. That's great. Oh, hey, HPTV Plus official. HP. You have me at a disadvantage, sir. But hi. Yes, I saw this just today. Thank you for mentioning this. There's a costume contest online with pictures from, you're a kid, you're an adult, you're doing it this year, and you post your thing and you're in a drawing, and they're giving away some things from Doug's collection. Yeah. A decade earlier than that document, at the first TrekCon in New York City, the audience was clearly audibly very, yes. Well, I had that photo that I showed you, the con-com. There was lots of guys there. There's lots of men there and young guys. It baffles me how the anti-wokers, the sleepers, I know. Why would you not want to be awoke? Why is being asleep in the world sleepwalking? I thought those were like negative consequences. think Star Trek has always been a boy brand. I mean, I get it. I understand. They think that the plastic model kit builders, they think everybody who bought a tech manual was a guy. There's just that blinding, that blinders, that rutted thinking. Yeah. Uh-oh. Hey, Sean. Daylight savings caught you off guard. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and the Klingons. Was it this week that we're offset? Oh, no. Harv and Rick making a great job on Star Trek in my eyes. There you go. I'm glad you're here, man, and commenting. Harv Bennett was perhaps a minor genius. Yeah. To walk into something and not F it up that he knew very little about, and had at one point in his life been given the job of firing Gene Roddenberry from a project. Yes, indeed. Oh, hi. What now? Wouldn't be the blank without a blanket the blank. Okay. Is it the same word all three times? That doesn't mean. What are you saying? For you, remarkable after Star Trek VI that gave Paramount in other hands for the movies. Nick Meyer's a genius. I believe that he would be making great TNG movies too. Yeah. And Robert Sallin. Yes, yes. What is this? Goodish news from the other woke 60s sci-fi show. Doctor Who will be back Christmas 2026 without Disney's big production bucks. You know, that's cool. Could perhaps the largely male cast of The Big Bang Theory account for the misjudgment that so many Trek fans are male? Well, yeah, but didn't it wind up as the years went by? The point was the two guys and the girl. That's 2-1. And then the four guys and the girl. And then the four guys all wound up with a girl. I'm paraphrasing here. They're all young women. The gender balance of Big Bang kept, and even Stewart, even, some of the other characters wound up going there. Today, Larry, for you is Star Trek: The Motion Picture, the big final episode for the original series, a goodbye to Gene's era. Oh, and that things changed with Wrath of Khan. Kinda, yeah. Although it's odd because the designs, costumes aside, the designs overflowed or overran motion picture, especially the production design. Thank you, Christoph, for the Doctor Who news link. My gosh, see what a great bunch we've got here in the TTLers. Yeah, Nick Meyer's story is behind the audio drama. Yes, yes, yes. Well, okay. I need to catch up on Khan, but I was very impressed with the first one. But it is an audio drama. No matter what the subject is, if you're not tuned in to audio dramas, without a visual stimulus, then you're going to think that way. But so thank you. There you're going. And boom, right back at you. Yeah. I haven't heard this week's yet. I have to do that. So there you go. There you go. Okay. This is kind of what I thought. Like, we didn't need it, but now that it's here, it's canon in a vacuum. It's gap filling. You're welcome to that phrase. Canon, Sean, for you is not canon. You believe a mini live action series would be better for Khan. Well, that's what Nick Meyer in 1988 thought. 1988. 2018 thought. 1988. In Germany, TOS had in the first era almost 30 reruns on German TV. Oh, you mean like the 80 hours had 30 cycles? Yep. See, this is why today the biggest overseas pockets, the traditional overseas big markets, were always the UK, Germany, and Australia. No matter what the population was, those were the biggest per capita. What are you saying? Better video? Oh, good. Better video 350, 360. I thought for a second you might have been some bot popping it, but no, you're very much being fanish here. One that comes up, pre-filmed sources and fans who should know better. Those cheap, cheesy sets made out of cardboard and plywood. TV show sets are still made out of plywood. I know. There was almost no cardboard. Now, some of that is like the foam rocks, but there were tons. They spent so much money, especially on the bridge. So much money. Star Trek sets didn't wobble. That was early Doctor Who. Yeah, which they replicate. Hey, Randy Compton, good to see you again. You like women, and you support the concept of having them participate in all things Trek. Good, but you know, Randy, whether you liked it or not, it happened and happens. Just as a point, which is not your point. I know you're happy with it, but it doesn't matter what any one person thinks. That's the reality. You better believe it. We'll do it live. No, as you know by now, it wasn't a special. It was a construction person left over from a project who didn't get my sign fell down that says don't come to the front door, which is really a back door, which now is bolted not to open. So, yeah. See Majel at many conventions, and I bet she always had Raina at her side. Well, okay, Sean, but it's still fun. I recommend everybody get involved in amateur theater. Okay. Hey, Don. Enjoy the launch of Coast to Coast Tuesday across NBC and Peacock and Game 4 of the World Series. I didn't watch that game last night. I'm not a big baseball fan, but I was shocked that they went 6 hours and 18 innings. Nice chair. Thank you. Okay. Oh, so everybody had fun with my, this is, well, you know, Sean, I actually have a Burke chair. I have the back and I have the base to a Burke chair, but it was a used one and part of it's painted maroon. It's not painted, and I mean, I got it with the intention of having it fixed up, and I know the people to help me do it too. What plans and tournaments? Oh, you guys are hysterical. The peanut is neither a pea nor a nut. I bet Larry cannot name all 5 Dax hosts that Cisco meets in his lifetime. Okay, Curzon, Jadzia, Esri, and then the other 2. The evil murderer piano player. I haven't thought about this in ages. And the guy that hijacked it for a minute, if we're going to include him. Yanara, da. Shoot. Yeah, the season 2 opener. Okay. But I helped get them all named right in the right slots back in the day for facets. On a Sunday afternoon, I wrote a memo up for Renee Echeverria on a Sunday afternoon because they had to have it done by that night. Yep. Oh, very nice. Better video. Design and build sets for local and corporate TV. So, yes. Represent. Yeah. I'm glad you guys had a little moment to talk back here. Everyone screenshot this and you can add yourself in later. Oh, hey, Rose. Good to see you bopping in. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I hardly posted anything this summer. I'm going to go back and do that. Mona, thank you. And thank you for helping me tell. Gang, the 4 o'clock Trekophiles Tonight gang is there every other Monday at 4 p.m. And we're on camera live with each other on Discord. Just $1 a month on the Mission Log Patreon, and you have access to come join us. And anything else in the entire Roddenberry world there you want to jump in with. The fans, I mean. All those kind of live camera meetups. Mission Log After Dark is very huge and conversationally, I'll say. Your DM is waiting for me on Instagram. Okay, I will take it. I like how your name is so unique. You Google my name and get thousands of people. There's 4 or 5 Larry Nemecheks on Facebook, which is kind of wacky. Dan, you tried smoke signals, Morse code, even opening hailing frequencies the lot. Turns out it's as easy as an email. Yes. I don't make a big secret of it, Dan. It's kind of there. Yes. You wish you had Doug's energy and positive attitude. Those are obviously the 1-2 punch of his success. Pretty much. Yeah. You need to ask what San Diego State is on the lookout for in terms of zines and other fan curious stuff. Yeah, if they may not have anybody there who wants to specialize. You know, it's random. Different universities and their archives and libraries specialize in different things. Gene's things are all down at UCLA, or a lot of them are. Nick Meyer's papers are at University of Iowa, where he went to school. So there you go. Hey, Don, fan of all generations of Star Trek, cautiously optimistic about Starfleet Academy. Me too, because they put all the marbles in this basket. It may be a moot point, but if you think of it as the culmination of all the lessons learned over the last 8 years, we'll see. We'll see. Oh, one last time. Okay, Rose, thank you. Happy Chocolate Day. Okay, I know, Mona. Come on. I've had to deal with a lot of home and family and medical and yard stuff the last month or two. But you wrote these. If I answered all 8 or 10 of those questions, I would have a biography written. I will get on it. You're poking me in a very polite way. Thank you. Not 6 pages like someone else. Yeah, but I'm a little older than 16 now. I had nothing else to do then. You're not cautiously optimistic about you're all the way optimistic. Okay. What? It's Hoodie 1. Oh. It's whatever you put down. Got it. I'm just reading off what pops up here too. Sean, as a good old boy, me, not you. Okay. Do you ever do the dress up as Twain and debate? No. I gotta know, territory folks. Territory folks should stick together. Territory folks should all be pals. Mark Twain had nothing to do with Oklahoma. It's Will Rogers. I have dressed up as Will Rogers before. That would be my take on this. We'd have to have 2 Will Rogers get together and out shucks each other. Has anybody heard the story of where the hell that came from? If it was the writer of the episode or a Mike thing or whatever, the first time they did the Twains, that's so wacky. You consider Star Trek to be a brand for boys and girls and the young at heart, like Star Wars, Power Rangers, etc. Well, why go in limiting things? Sometimes we limit things unconsciously, and then we just need somebody to kind of blow our blinders off, Same people who decry wokeism also tell people to wake up when we don't inject ourselves with bleach or stop taking Tylenol. I know. It's called, if cognitive dissonance wasn't 6 syllables, maybe it'd be a more common term. 6-syllable 2 words or something. Wouldn't be an Enterprise without a Sulu at the helm. Yeah. Let's see. Yes. An Italian documentary about Trekkies the other day. No idea it existed. Oh yeah, Astral. Star Trek's been around for 60 years. Oh, you mean that documentary? Or fandom in Italy? Yeah, fandom in Italy is the thing. You believe there may be more women in science and medical school than men, or at least equal in number. We can thank Star Trek in part for this. Matrix, always be woke. I know, Wanda. I don't. Sometimes it gets tiring. Like people are, they don't. Everyone cannot know everything. So I'm not exhausted by people not knowing stuff. I'm just kind of exhausted by people who claim to know, and after 40 or 50 years, they don't. That's what I'll plead. That's what I'll plead to. But you mean not now you want it canon? Yeah, like I said, it's canon in a vacuum. There is nothing known about all that anyway. Look who's the credits on this. It's everything but visual. And someone popped up last week or somewhere that said if it's not visual, it can't be canon. And I thought, well, why not? There's nothing else going to take it, especially now. They're not going to turn around in a year and go, oh, that was such a hit. Let's make it on live action after all. Yeah. Oh, okay. You're up with old time radio and audio drama and all of that, just not this one. Okay. Did I know Doctor Who almost didn't survive the pilot? It ran the same night that, yes, there's that documentary. Excuse me, guys. Documentary recreation. Yes. Got it. Mona, you ought to watch it just so you're kind of in touch culturally somewhere along the way. And you can pick any one of the doctors. I would go to a classic one, but well, Section 31 was going to be a series. Khan was going to be a 3-part like mini series, like 3 2-hour, almost like the British model. 3 2-hour, the one of the British models. It was always going to be 6 hours. The other was going to be a 10-hour weekly series drop. I wish it had only been 6 hours. There might have been a lot less material they felt compelled to cram in that had been developed. There you go. Apparently that's the truth. That's what we were hearing. And there's another vote for Doctor Who. Oh, you saw Jean's wife, Majel, one time in Germany. You had a 2-minute chat. She was so caring to me and lovely. And I said to her, it is sad that Jean is no longer with us to be here in Germany. Yeah. Doctor Who continuing without Disney after the upcoming animation spinoff was made official today. See your announcement link further up. Yes. Oh, yeah. Isn't it nice to have those moments, those bits? Thank you, Varad and Yedrin. They don't teach civics in the U.S. anymore. Yeah. Civics, history, government, and just being civic to each other. See, this is what I was thinking of. Duran and Ballard. Yeah, I need to go back and refresh. Thank you. Donald Glover was Varad. Oh, future. Don't count future Daxes. The anal people can count. I mean like real ones for real reasons. I'm okay. I'm going to put an asterisk on that and wish you had defined better as the person who only said the 3 obvious ones. Varad was the one I was trying to remember from Donald Glover. Yeah. Somewhere I've told this story somewhere, Sean. I have the memo at the blanks. Like, here's what has been said. It's kind of like a reverse logic problem. What do you say, Mona? If they have a Trek question at dinner on Sunday and need it by Monday morning, ask Dr. Trek. No, Ask Dr. Trek is the roundtable in Portal 47. That's our meetups. Oh, well, yes, Dan, of course, memory alpha. Well, as long as it's categorized correctly. What? Morse reminds on the only best scene from Star Trek V when Scotty blows the jail away for Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. Doug Twice is a guest on your podcast. Well, what is your podcast? Ooh. The other guy has one L and he's evil? Watch soap operas. Okay. Mona, you're listening to Old Trekland Tuesdays. When do you have time for that? Many folks didn't realize the teenager was flying the ship instead of the android. I love that. You mean Trek Files, Mona? Oh, Sean. No, good old boy. Nope. If it's a Trek community and someone calls me a good old boy, it's not. Yeah. I mean, if we want to go there, I could go all the way. Imagine. The guiding light. It wouldn't be an Enterprise without an Ortegas at the helm. Yeah, a 3-part mini series. Yes. There you go, Christoph. There you go. Yeah. The Trek dinners. That was a big European thing. Yes. I've been at a Trek dinner or two, especially in Germany. It's okay. It's okay, Mona. I've probably answered a question on a Trek file on a Tuesday. Yeah, I totally forgot about this. This is the week for the weird gap between Europe and us over here. So, gang, I think we are there at the end of the chat as we know it. It's the end of the chat as we know it. It's the end of the chat as we know it. So I'm going to say thanks to everybody. And I found it. Yes, if you're looking for just a one-day experience in Southern California, less time, less budget, yada, yada, hit me up for a Trekland Treks soon. Dan, just write Larry at LarryNemechek.com. I'm sorry I wasn't seeing you wherever you were getting in touch. That's not somebody wants to do a Trek. I am all for helping them out to do it, you know? But of course, again, if you want to celebrate the 60th in a big way, in a slightly rare, less common way, more fixed, yeah, you want to get the Hollywood Vegas there with, and did I mention who all's going to be taking part in different days? Plus, we have more folks to go. Okay, yeah, Armin, Tim, Sirach, and Bobby there. There's even the QR code if you want to just go from there. Boom. Or geeknationtours.com. Again, next summer, the week before Vegas, that's Geek Nation Tours Terrace Night. First time in 10 years for the 50th. Kind of crazy. Again, a big thanks and shout out here to our TTLers and live wires for October. I'll have a new batch signed. I know we've got some new folks joined up for November. If you want to do that, it's $5, $10 a month. Patreon.com/Trekland live. And I do appreciate it. I really do, guys. Thank you. Thank you. These last just 3, 4, 5 years, we've expanded a little bit. Speaking of expanding, the Trek Files this week, once again, with Rain Estepinian, the Girl Friday for Majel, and a lot of times Rod, Gene too, and Rod. Rod's one and only nanny his entire growing up, from the time he was 6 months old. And she wound up doing so much more with the family and all of that. Hey, everybody, it's at Larry Nemechek on YouTube, on Twitter, and Blue Sky. It's Larry's Trekland on Facebook and Instagram. And yeah, YouTube here. Please subscribe to whatever you're watching us on. Go over to YouTube if you're not, and please subscribe there. Portal47.net. No more post-con blues, because it's your insider's guide to backstage Star Trek, where no savvy fan has gone before. All 12 months of the year. 10 years of Portal 47. We are going to be aiming for the open house on the 12th. Just scan your socials, scan your email if you're not already on my list, and we'll let you know who the guest is. And we will celebrate 10 years and a very big guest that night as well. Open the doors of the portal. It's free to everybody. We'll have door prizes. We'll have a sample. Speaking of Ask Dr. Trek Roundtable, we'll have a sample. It'll be with non-members. It'll be basically an open mic night. So we'll see how that goes. Everybody scan and be waiting for that to jump on that. Otherwise, thanks everybody for being here for another Tuesday. I don't know if I stirred anything up, but I felt good to get it off my chest about this silly article people were reacting to for whatever the original reason it was out there. The uniform reaction that I saw, and again, I'm in my world, so you could say that goes both ways, but I just don't, there's just such a preponderance of recorded history. What a stupid thing to say. What a stupid thing to say. And if there's no women in the content threads that you're reading online, you just need to get out more often to the mainstream. Oh my goodness. Hey everybody, listen, thanks so much again. Please take care of yourself. Stay healthy, do all the things. Stay woke, check the sources, and trek well.